You're expected to coach your direct reports, but you probably haven't even received any leadership training, never mind coach training. I'm going to share some research with you that confirms this dire state of play in leadership generally that we seem to have just accepted, and the costly impact to teams, organisations, and ourselves as leaders. Some data around why leadership training is failing leaders, why traditional style leaders, command and control leaders, cannot create a culture of accountability, why pure coaching interventions for leaders are not addressing the epic problem. And I'm going to explain how coach leadership works magic in the most common everyday occurrence you know so well, when your direct report comes to you with a problem. Hi, I'm Sehaam Cyrene, and I'm so delighted you've joined me today on this very first episode of the Leaders Who Coach podcast. The demand on organisations to perform and innovate, stay ahead of the curve, has never been higher. Economic uncertainty, high customer expectations, speed of change with AI and automation, reskilling people fast enough to keep up with change and adapt, and higher expectations from our people to be led better, given all the knowledge out there about what great leadership should look like. Have you noticed how many job descriptions these days for people managers and leaders include in them the responsibility to coach? And yet you are either not getting the training or the training is ineffective. Also, something I hear a lot from my graduates is, I thought I knew what coaching was, but now I really understand it. Before I get into the data on the reality for leaders and people managers and build my case for coach leadership, let's start with establishing a common understanding between you and me about what traditional leadership is, what pure coaching is, and what coach leadership is. When I refer to traditional leadership, I am in the main talking about command and control leadership. Even leaders who espouse to servant or compassionate leadership, where they prioritise the needs of their direct reports and not just their own goals or the organisation's goals, in my experience, they actually default to command and control in practice. They understand and value the principles of servant leadership, but in the moment, they do more telling, commanding, and directing than being a servant leader. That's just my opinion. What's yours? In pure one-to-one executive coaching, the coach is focused solely on their individual client, their goals, ambitions, needs, beliefs, and challenges. What do they want to achieve and how? The International Coach Federation defines coaching as partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them, our clients, to maximize their personal and professional potential. Leaders who coach also espouse to that definition with some modifications that realistically reflect their working context. Coach leadership is where leaders apply the skills and techniques, questions and phrases of professional coaches like myself in their daily workplace conversations and exchanges with their people, within the context that they are operating under pressure to balance the needs of multiple stakeholders. Yes, they attend to the needs of their direct reports, who they're coaching or coach leading, and they also are attending to the wider team, the team's goals, the function's targets, the organization's strategy, their peers, external parties like commercial customers, suppliers, investors, and so on. Their landscape is complex. At Coach Lead, we define coach leadership as this: leaders who coach use coaching skills to amplify their effectiveness in leading and their impact on the business. As well as guiding and directing people, leaders who coach are committed to working in partnership with you, their direct report, to support and inspire you to grow and achieve your fullest potential. We ask a lot of leaders. Translate strategy, deliver results, manage people, solve problems, be strategic, innovate, build and protect culture. But we don't train them. And if we do, the training does not deliver the impact that the leader needs and that the organisation needs. Here's the reality. The majority of people managers and leaders have no formal experience or training when stepping into a management or leadership role. You are more likely to be a subject matter expert first than to be a manager or leader first. Even if you wanted and have asked for leadership training to help you be successful in your role, maybe you're still waiting for that to happen, or perhaps have been on some training. Translating the theory into practice is much harder to do. Your learning has probably been on the job. You've picked up approaches from other untrained leaders, muddled through, trial and error, bad habits. You're not alone. In fact, you're in the majority. According to Gallup's article on this issue, Why Great Managers Are So Rare, it cites research that points out only 1 in 10 managers are good at managing. What's the damage? Disengagement, not tapping into great ideas, lack of generosity of our passions, and zero creative problem solving. 85% of us worldwide are not engaged or completely switched off. That's anywhere from being psychologically unattached to our work or company, so no energy or passion going on here, to being deeply unhappy at work to the extent that we may even undermine or sabotage the efforts of our colleagues and bosses. That's terrible. What do? Shrug our shoulders. Have we accepted defeat? So what, just 15% of us carry the responsibility for delivering results? And what does that mean for our enjoyment of work, our mental well-being, our work relationships? Could this be a major reason why we feel so lonely at work and in leadership? Disengagement, loss of interest, loss of ownership, loss of accountability, loss of creativity, the appetite to problem solve, and therefore loss of performance and innovation. If we do put people on leadership programs, how well do those leadership programs help us become better leaders and people managers? According to McKinsey, not very well at all. In what is a over $50 billion leadership development industry, 90% are delivering disappointing results, meaning their impact is woefully underwhelming, their ability to change leadership behaviours is poor, and their ability to positively impact the organisation is seriously in question. This was related to a 2016 survey of 510 executives about leadership development programs. And I can tell you from my own extensive research, you may disagree, but the content of leadership development programs really hasn't changed much in over a decade. Also, the majority of leadership training programs do not help leaders overcome their fears of doing things differently. So, theory is poorly applied or translated into daily practice. Training done, thanks for the folder, virtual or physical, in drawer, never opened again. But let's back up a little and look at what's happening on the ground when people managers and leaders get no formal training in leadership, never mind training in coaching or coach leadership. As I mentioned earlier, command and control is the default style I see across many organisations and industries, even when we have pockets of coach leaders and inspiring people managers. Hat off to you, by the way, if you're showing up in a coach leadership style when everyone around you is not. That takes strength of character and a strong belief in a better way. Keep it up, because your people will remember you forever as the best boss they ever had. And goodness, we need people like you modelling how to show up with integrity, intentionally and strategically. I'd love to talk to you, by the way. More on that another time. So what do command and control leaders do when someone comes to them with a problem? Command and control leaders dive straight into telling them what to do, how to fix it, or worse, they take over. Never mind, I'll sort it out. Grumble, grumble. How does the direct report respond quietly to themselves? Okay, not my problem. Disengagement. Okay, so you're not interested in my ideas. Loss of ownership. I don't know why I bother. Loss of passion. Maybe I am rubbish at this. Loss of confidence. All of it adds up to a breakdown in trust and loss of any chance at accountability. Why would anyone willingly put themselves in the firing line of a boss that repeatedly undermines them? What else do command and control leaders say? I can't trust them to do anything. I can't rely on them. I always have to step in and fix their mess. Why are they so incompetent? That's highly stressful posturing to expend energy on as a leader, and pretty unpleasant and stressful to be at the receiving end of it. Not only is the command and control style of leadership limiting and stressful, it snuffs out generosity and instead stifles creativity and innovation because it disengages us, creates fear, silos, and toxic behaviours. For comparison, what do coach leaders do when their direct report comes to them? Well, first off, well before this moment, they will have invested time building high levels of trust and mutual respect for one another. So the coach leader starts from the position that their direct report is coming to them as a safe resource to think through their ideas. The coach leader says, okay, tell me more. They listen, silence their internal voice, become very present, and then ask, okay, what have you already thought of doing? And then again, fall silent and lets them speak, unpack their thoughts, asks genuinely clarifying questions. They're not trying to catch them out or trip them up. Clarifying questions are, what's significant about that? Where do you believe the disconnect is? And what do you think your best option is? Coach leaders apply coaching skills and techniques every day, from one meeting to the next. The compound benefit stacks up pretty quick. Just a few questions there, and I have a ton more for you to experiment with over the coming episodes. I've got some beautiful, simple gems for you. Now, notice how there's no inflamed response, no frustration, just a belief that their direct report can solve the challenge they have. The coach leader sees their role as helping to strengthen their direct report's thinking by asking questions that help them answer the important questions, unpick knots, and evaluate their options and next steps. Did you also notice how the coach leader's approach expends much less energy, is far more collaborative, invited exploration? And can you also feel how that maintains and builds even more trust between the two people? Cortisol, the stress hormone, is low, and oxytocin, the connection or love hormone, is flowing. That's what you want. That's what you're always aiming for in leadership, because that makes both the coach leader and the other person generous in their thinking, which leads to synchrony of thought, creativity, and robust problem solving. The coach leader has not stepped in and taken over. They have not undermined their direct report. They have protected their direct report's passion and commitment to solve the problem at hand. That is so empowering. Ownership is intact, and in fact, their direct report, because they've designed their own solution, is more emotionally attached to the approach they've thought through with their boss. This creates the optimal conditions for the direct report to hold themselves accountable for a successful outcome. Folks, we're just scratching the surface of all this amazing stuff, the magic that becomes possible with this coach leadership approach. And I'm so excited to be sharing that with you on the Leaders Who Coach podcast every week. Leaders Who Coach is my CPD certified and 5-star rated course where I teach leaders and people managers how to use coaching skills. Available as a self-paced course or as a 12-week enrichment cohort with your peer leaders, you get to learn the 12 skills of leaders who coach through over 100 micro lectures, role-related assignments, and live coaching practice and supervision with me, Sehaam Cyrene. Build a clear vision for your leadership role. Apply exceptional conversation skills for all situations. Manage your boundaries and model healthy leadership. Easily prioritize work and opportunities. Surface blockers quickly and mitigate risks. Handle poor performance early, fairly, and firmly. Create accountability in your direct reports and even your peers. Develop strong negotiation and issue resolution skills. Build trusting and highly collaborative partnerships. Promote inclusivity, diversity, and innovation. The next era in leadership practice, Leaders Who Coach, puts powerful coaching skills into the minds and hearts of leaders responsible for unlocking their people's performance. Check out the Coach Leadership FAQ, course details and testimonials from graduate leaders at Accenture, Buffer, Cancer Research UK, Clarinet, JP Morgan Chase, Moo, Publicis Sapient, Sainsbury's and others at coachlead.co/leaders-who-coach. Okay. I've talked about traditional leadership and coach leadership. What about one-to-one pure executive coaching? Yes, the coach does everything I've just described about the coach leadership way, holding the thinking space and being a thinking partner to their individual client. But here's where it gets different. You, as a leader, may have been listening to me and thinking, okay, Sehaam, but what if their solution of the direct report is wrong? What if they've missed the needs of some critical stakeholders? What if they are doing this task for the first time and don't have the experience to tackle it in a specific way? You're right. And that's what makes your approach as a coach leader different to pure one-to-one executive coaching. As the people manager or leader, you are likely privy to levers and information that your direct report may not. You may have experience in this matter that your direct report does not have. This is where your responsibility and experience come into play. After the exploration that I described for you, where your direct report comes to you with an issue and you invite them to share their ideas, your additional opportunity as a coach leader is to course correct and offer additional information that you would know as a coach leader, but you would not necessarily know as a pure coach, just because you're not deep in the business operations. You're not in those leadership meetings or discussions. A pure coach will likely not have your experience, and a pure coach will tell you that they don't need to be the expert in your field. True. But remember, the context here is complex. It's about having an impact daily from one meeting to the next on how your people are performing, working, and collaborating for immediate operational efficiency right now. That's just one of the magic things about coach leadership, is its ability to effect behavior change in each of your direct reports right now, not next week when you meet with the coach and then when you get round to having the conversation with your direct report, right now in this meeting with your direct report, so they can plan what to do in the very next half hour, so they can prioritize the right stuff for today and the week ahead. So as a coach leader, you might evaluate that your direct report has 80% of the solution, but might be missing one or two critical aspects. You would say, that's great. I think you've got pretty much all of it covered. There are a couple of other considerations you might not be aware of. Can I give you some insight into those, and then you can decide how best to address them? This way, you can course correct, provide extra details and nuance that, if they consider appropriately through exploration with you, will strengthen their approach. they are already feeling good about their approach. They know they've got your support, and they know you want them to succeed. So yeah, they want to know those extra couple of considerations. They trust that you have introduced them for their benefit. This is the optimal moment for you as a coach leader to share your knowledge and your experience. To have done it earlier would risk your direct report shutting down and losing confidence, or deferring to your counsel because of the power dynamic, you being their boss, and essentially disengaging with the challenge or issue. Remember, there goes accountability. And there's an important part here after sharing. You let your direct report determine whether to take some, all, or none of your counsel by asking, do you see application or relevance here for your situation? Or, in light of this new information about our stakeholders, how might you modify or expand your approach? Not possible with command and control style leadership, because there's never been an opportunity for them to share their thoughts and their thinking and build out a solution. And very limited opportunity with one-to-one pure executive coaching, not to mention that it's not sufficiently fast or responsive enough or immediate enough for organizations to innovate. Most leaders with a coach meet with their coach fortnightly, at best weekly. In my opinion, given the speed of change in organizations, this frequency of intervention is not fast enough and is limited to just the leader, compared to the coach leader having multiple touch points each day with their team members, whether that's a team of 2 or a team of 12. Ideally, you want to aim for 7 to 8 direct reports as a leader. So as many as 12 team members are experiencing coaching 2 or 3 times a week, at least. And I haven't even touched on coaching conversations with your peers, your boss, and your customers. I hope I've piqued your interest in coach leadership and shown you how a simple shift in your stance to responding to a problem your direct report brings to you by holding space and asking super simple but powerful questions, you can dramatically change the outcome of the conversation and build a culture of engagement and accountability. You can use these questions. I have every belief that you can, but you have to want this for yourself. As a coach once said to me when I was experiencing a period of self-doubt, when will you take yourself seriously? Starting something new is always daunting at first, but the growth in self-awareness and confidence to feel calm in conversations, to understand your role in leadership, is incredibly rewarding. To step into situations and not feel stressed or worried that you might get it wrong, that the other person might respond badly, to not feel frustrated at what appears to be a lack of commitment from a team member. You can step into any conversation or challenge as a coach leader, knowing you can pull the rabbit out of the hat. You can create some magic. And hey, you get to learn more about coach leadership with zero risk by joining me each week on the Leaders Who Coach podcast. You'll start to realize just how many opportunities you're missing out on to turn your leadership and people management conversations around. And more importantly, how easy it is to change the trajectory of your conversations and relationships. Just one question, phrase, or technique, like holding silence, can move your exchanges from pointless, costly, and stressful escalations to strong, healthy working relationships, even when you disagree, even when you've got a history of friction, and even when you're working under pressure and battling through a crisis situation. If you want to learn more about coach leadership, I've got a YouTube playlist for you with videos where I dive deeper into how coach leadership works, and the Leaders Who Coach course, plus interviews with 3 of my graduates talking about their experience of the course and their growing awareness and confidence in themselves as leaders. In their own words, you'll find a lot of what they share will ring true for you too. And don't forget, there's a ton of information on my website, coachlead.co. Check the links for those in the description. Next week, I'm going to be talking to you about how your personal values and blind spots drive your leadership behaviors and why that is foundational for leaders who coach. Plus, I'll be sharing a couple of fantastic free resources for you to build your self-awareness and understand how you're showing up for your people. Make sure you're following me here on the Leaders Who Coach podcast so you don't miss it. And if you've enjoyed my first episode, I'd love you to give it a thumbs up or a review so I can reach more people like you.